next one is called Blood and Thunder. Blood and thunder. Blood and thunder. Thunder. Blood and thunder. Blood and thunder. Wow, when I got these tickets to Mastodon, this really isn't what I expected. Blood. Thunder. Blood. And thunder. Blood. Thunder. Blood. I thought these guys were like a metal band. Isn't Mastodon metal? Yeah, this is one of my favorite songs. Blood and Thunder. Blood. And thunder. Blood. And thunder. Blood. Thunder. Blood. And thunder. Wow, man. $140 for these back row tickets to Mastodon. And this shit is off the chain, bro. Blood. And thunder. Blood. And thunder. You know, metal's really taking on like a Muppet kind of vibe these days. Yo, what's up, my people? Hey, man, get that microphone over here. Blood and thunder. Blood and thunder. Get this thing out of my way. It was like way over there, and now it's way over here. It's too close. Blood and thunder. Blood and thunder. While you guys join in the stream, I'm just gonna finish up some light reading here. Yes. Blood. And what's over here? Thunder. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. Joe, Buddy, Hanker, and Farinail here. Welcome back to Runehammer. Everything you're seeing behind me, all of this white wall, the stair banister back there, this stuff over here, these scissors, I got to get new scissors, y'all. I don't know about y'all. Every pair of scissors I have sucks. Greetings, program. Welcome Friday afternoon. This is Runehammer. This is the realm of the role-playing realm. The realm playing role. This is it. Welcome back to the channel here on the YouTube, the place where television has been democratized and it has survived the social media apocalyptica. What's up? I'm your host, Ingrid Bernal. I started as a dwarven adventurer, but I've retired from that long ago. Now I'm mainly just a painter and a fisherman, but I can't ever seem to find any time for those activities. Constant NPCs needing help. Giant evil sorcerers plaguing the realm with doom and destruction. Children needing to be found. Cuckoos needing to be put in the pen. How y'all doing? It's Friday afternoon. Oh my gosh, somehow time has elapsed. We are now in the future. What used to be the future, it is now the present. The concept of time itself, relatively absurd, but we are not here to discuss the absurd nature of time. Oh no. Oh no, not on this stream. This stream, we are here to talk about, hey, Gargoyles. Now, if you just wait just one moment, the sun has, it's coming back. The sun is, there's the sun. There's the sun. You don't want it to be all dark and depressing. That's no good. It's too early for SAD, seasonal affective disorder, which honestly, here in the great city of Philadelphia, we don't really suffer from that because it's nice all the stinking time. Hi, everybody. It's nice to have you back. Welcome to the stream. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And I'm not shitting. I'm not shitting you. We are going to be talking about gargoyles now. If you get up in that, that community post, I just put it up. You're going to see a screenshot there. I want you to click on that screenshot. I want you to move it over into a nice little window on the side there. Use your tabs. Use your Alt tab. Switching back and forth, so on and so on. Use your second monitor for the screenshot. Use the iPad. If you're over 70 years old, you're going to be using the iPad for the screenshot. That's a little ageist comment on iPads. And here's to it. Don't be ageist, by the way. Old people are pretty cool. Babies can be pretty cool. Children, however, I mean, they can taste great when they're fricasseed properly. All right. Look at this. The Allfather. You know, you got it good when the Rune wife is hooking you up with the Allfather. This stuff, I would like to garner them a great number of sales. Go buy this. So you guys know that I'm a mead drinker. I love the fermented honeys. Sorry if that was really loud. That was probably loud as hell. This one is a little different. I gotta say, it's like a fig mead, and it's a fig mead of your imagination, and it has such a great, like, ancient times type vibe to it. I have mine with a gigantic spherical ice cube in it. So should you, because I mean, come on, giant ice cubes. How cool is that? Hi, everybody. Okay, let's get past this part. Shkal and Budmo to all of you. And welcome. Okay. Now, this discussion today is a bit of a session recap because I know y'all are down with the session recaps. As I've said so many times, I'm trying to stay away a little bit from so-called theory and advice and stuff like that, even though Lord knows that is a big part of my daily life. And at least here on YouTube, stick to session recaps and really just describing, recounting, and looking for insights and inspiration in things that happened. Things that actually happened with my weird, unpredictable, socially maladjusted friends at our table as we all struggle to find normalcy through role playing. That was a pretty good description of what we do every week. Anyway, so I talked about it a little bit on the last stream. In my newer group, we've nicknamed our group the Frog Brothers. Ironically and hilariously enough, the 2 out of 5 players who played Frogkin in our Crown and Skull game have encountered some life complexities, and one of them kind of dropped off the map a little bit, and the other one had a family situation that's out of state that's going to be a little bit ongoing. But he'll come back to the table, but is gone for the moment. So hilariously enough, the Frog Brothers have no frogs in the group. So it's just us 3 now. As I've said so many times in the past, I love me that 3-man, baby. It's just like World of Warcraft. Running the 3-man is where it's at. It's dope. It's scarier. It's faster. There's I think almost more social stitching that occurs because sometimes that 3-man, like you're a tight group. Like having one less backup person in a bad situation makes each person approximately 25% more important. That was the dumbest ending to what was supposed to be an inspiring discussion of 3-man groups. Okay, anyway, yeah, I mean, you want to talk about cool 3 pieces? Let's talk about Nirvana. You know what I'm saying? It's like 3 people in that. I don't know. It's very strange. It's been a kind of a wacky week. It's been a wacky week. Now, usually I blame wackiness on like being busy, but this is the opposite. Right now, Crown and Skull is absolutely complete. The digital bundles are ready. All the files and the back and forth, which took just under 3 weeks with my printer, the amazing and incomparable Regent printing, that's all done. So really then all you need to do is get the proofs in your hand to make sure that the quality you want to deliver to your shield wall, to your peoples, the peoples that make my life possible, is up to par. And that just involves waiting. Okay, so when waiting occurs, I look into my trove, my mess, my bedlam of thinking in my journal, and I say, okay, what do I have, what I need to get something done that I can get done in like a day? And so for the past like 4 days, I've just been doing these insane random rabbit holes on projects I've had to put off for almost a year. So, which is really fun. There are a lot of fun things coming down the line. I always like to try to, stay ahead and offer cool stuff to everybody. And also, it's just what I do and it's fun. But I'll tell you, when you do random rabbit holes that are like super intense work sessions that have nothing to do with each other, like day after day, hour after hour for like 4 days, bro, it gets a little weird. Like your brain starts feeling a little weird. But that doesn't matter right now. I'm not here to promote my stuff. I'm here to tell you about Wednesday night. So Wednesday night, I went over, met up with my friends. And like I said, we're 3 players and our GM right now. And by the way, Carissa, if you're out there right now and you're watching this video, you're unfortunately going to be a bit of a punching bag in this discussion, but the best kind of punching bag, because the ending is what this is all about. And as you saw in the title of the YouTube video for tonight, it's the magic, when the magic happens. Now, I know that everybody's table is different in our glorious hobby, and every week that you go and play is different. Everyone's in a different mood. And like, how much is this really part of our lives? Are we weird for fixating on this hobby? I don't really know the answers to any of that stuff. But what I can tell you is, for me in a game, when the danger and the intensity reaches a level that is beyond really any amount of preparation or any amount of sort of jibber jabber, and just the intensity of sort of making it, snatching victory from the jaws of death, if you will, that to me is the best part of the game. And a lot of people create a false dichotomy, in my view, between like so-called role-playing in the truest form and combat, right? They say like, oh, combat's so boring, I just like to role-play and stuff. You know, this may not be true for everybody out there. That's a nod to you, my man Skip. It is true. But for me, I think some of the coolest role-playing actually happens during the most intense scenes of combat, because everything becomes so constrained, danger feels real, threat and peril and uncertainty become real, and you're not in danger, but your character is, and therefore you're actually feeling those character emotions. Now, sometimes in a more freeform or a social type encounter during play, some players are absolutely capable of being in their character, being vivid, using their voice, using their motivations, their beliefs and instincts, to put it in a burning wheel kind of context. But for me, that's tough. I find those moments of inspiration, the muse, if you will, of role playing, the most when combat is at its absolute most insane. Okay, so now if you just take that as a little prologue to what I'm going to be talking about, you're going to see like why I called this stream When the Magic Happens. Okay, so thank you everybody for tuning in. Good to have y'all. I see a bunch of all y'all over in the comments there. Always grateful and a privilege to be able to connect with people all over the world via this platform that we all enjoy so much. There is a purpose to the internet. And again, some gnarly stuff, as almost we say almost every time here on Runehammer, some gnarly stuff, difficult stuff happening out in the world. And if you're someone out there struggling with a lot of this craziness that afflicts the human race every single week, my wishes go out to you. But we're going to forge on with our silly, enjoyable little hobby, not to ignore those difficult events of the world, but in spite of them, and to keep going and to remember the good things in life. All right, so let's just enjoy our stuff for a little while. So back to Wednesday night. So we go into this session. We have descended below. Now, if you can catch up on these events if this sounds confusing. In my previous streams, I talked about this stuff. We have gone below this tower on the Isle of Toads. We are in the heart of the Frog Empire. Now, you might think to yourself, frogs are great. They're like super chill. They have like cocoa, you know, and they read Jane Eyre on Sunday morning and stuff. Like, frogs are chill as hell. I mean, Wind in the Willows, bro, that fool like slept all through spring, you know what I mean? But in Crown and Skull, the Frog Empire is far from that. It is the most brutal, merciless, totalitarian version of sort of a feudal Japan kind of a vibe. So not really doing any sort of cultural, you know, stealing from Japan per se, but they have some of kind of the physical trappings of medieval Japan, such as the weaponry, the accoutrement, the architecture and stuff like that. But their empire is so bad. They are so mean. And we have recently tangled with and escaped them to discover our rebel allies in the underground of the Isle of Toads. Now, these allies are few and far between. I mean, we're talking like a couple people. We haven't met any defectors yet. I think we may have met a frog defector, but we didn't believe them and we bonked them on the head and ran. Our group is very like lawful good, you might say. So we really are averse to killing. But yeah, we go underground and we meet our rebel contact. Her name is Janelle. And Janelle, it guides us. She gives us a task. So now that we've sort of just basically escaped incarceration. We suffer some minor amnesia. We really need to know what our place is in all this. And Janelle, in our third session, kind of gives us this purpose. And it's a huge relief for a player, I got to say. And Janelle just says, look, you're not needed here. You're only here because this is where they threw you in the dungeons. They were going to torture and kill you. Now that you're free, you got to get away from here. I need you to travel all the way to a town called Gardenborough. Now, Gardenborough is about 8 hexes away from where we are. So, at least a week, probably more like 2 weeks of travel. To get up there, we have some swamp to go through. We have some difficult travel to do. And we're just like, okay, travel is something we're going to need. We need a boat to get off this island. So she provides us with a boat, which is in terrible disrepair because remember, we're fugitives. We're rebels and fugitives. We're on the run. So we get this kind of abandoned boat that no one's going to notice is missing. We row out into this lake at night. It's extremely dark. There's a couple of night fishing barges of frogmen out on this lake at night. They're using lanterns to fish for, I don't know, night feeding fish. What do you fish for at night? Like walleye? Carp? Anyway, we can't have frog folk spotting us because we're not frogkin. We're like elves and humans and stuff. Like we can't have them seeing us. They spot us because we're clumsying around with this boat that's kind of sinking on us. We're trying to row it. We're not getting a lot of good progress. Unfortunately, to escape this lake at nighttime, which I don't know if any of y'all have ever operated a boat at night. If it's not like a motorboat with like spotlights and stuff, it's super scary. Like a canoe at night is mega scary. Anyway, so we realize we have to get one of these freaking barges. We just have to. And these frog fishermen are between us and commandeering a barge. So we kind of do this nice thing. Whisper, which is our rogue character, she swims out into the water and like knife in the teeth, kind of a thing, gets ready to jump on one of these barges. We create a distraction. We manage to kind of engage these frogs to their surprise. And our dwarf, he's a jolly dwarf. He's not like the heavily armored kind of fighter dwarf that I think a lot of people are familiar with. He's a stout folk with a bright heart. And he's got like a soft spot for children. And he's like, really, doesn't like violence, especially lethal violence. A fantastic character played by a fantastic player, my friend Jesse. So he goes onto this barge and he's our strong man, basically. And instead of any kind of like brutal attack, he goes in and he just kind of football shoves these fishermen off their barge into the lake. And we figure, how bad could it be? They're frog people. They can totally swim. It's all good. And we won't bother one of their barges. So then I realized this is still a liability. So as we're getting control of this barge, I use my only skill. So a lot of characters you're going to find when you guys get your hands on Crown and Skull, a lot of you already have the free player's guide that it's standard to make a character with 50 hero points at a game's beginning. We played the sort of amnesia style of play. Our characters are, brace yourself, worth 7 points. So I don't know what low fantasy means, but yeah, I got one skill, y'all. I got one skill, and it's oratory. So my character is Karazhan, and he is sort of the brains and the speech maker of the group. So I'm always doing these verbose speeches, like, well, it stands to reason that a fisherman's barge would be hardly more buoyant than a human-made canoe, thereby offering us a far superior conveyance to yon shore. Now, that considered, if we use 2 barges, we'll find ourselves emburdened, and therefore only 1 barge is needed, and the frogs will subsequently occupy the aforementioned unused barge. In such case, I will convince them not to report their sightings of us in the previously described plan. So that's the kind of stuff that my character says. So I use my oratory skill on these surviving. We haven't hurt anyone on all these frogs who are either floundering in the water or on the other barge. I use my oratory skill to describe that we are actually envoys of the emperor. We are supposed to be here, and we are on a secret thing, and they should not mention us. Don't tell their families about us. We're not here to steal anything or hurt anybody. We're just travelers. And I make my roll. It was like 1 away from a crit. So it's highly persuasive. These frogs leave us alone. We make it to the far shore. We come onto the far shore. We find a small town. By the way, it's the middle of the night. There are 3 frog huts here. And these frogs, by the way, remember, they are not our friends. We are in enemy lands. They pretty much hate us. But we are also like lawful good. So we decide, we don't really want to mess with these innocent people. And so we sneak through the town, and none of us have stealth skill. So we basically need to get a near crit to sneak through. And by some freakish miracle, all three of us roll and all get, ones, twos, and threes. So absolutely slay sneaking through the village. So just completely bypass this piece of content. And of course, our GM is just going like, oh my gosh, that village was going to be a huge combat encounter. Whatever. So we get out onto the grassy fields outside of the village. This sort of woman, this frogkin woman runs up. She's all worried because her husband and the other fishermen were supposed to come back at midnight, like at moon zenith or whatever. And they haven't been seen. These are, of course, the frogs that we stole the barge from. And I think she expected us to like engage her and try to help her and stuff. We didn't want to get tangled up in this village. We knew that there's probably a bunch of frog samurai like sleeping in those huts. We didn't want to get tangled up in it. So I basically just kind of, again, used this kind of talking skill I have to kind of, head her down to the lake shore, that everything's fine. They're going to be home anytime and stuff like that. Then we keep walking and we go into this marsh, which we didn't even see. So we're walking on sort of squishy ground and go into the marsh. We go into this marsh, we instantly sinking to our waists. And of course, we see flipper tracks on the top of the loam, right? Like sort of floating soil. So if you have flippers and you're walking around on this stuff, it's no problem, but we don't. So we're sinking, and we're sinking fast. We did a D4 roll. It's 2 rounds whenever you step in this stuff to go in over your head. That's 2 chances to get out. So right away, we're like, oh my gosh, like this is super dangerous quicksand mud. Like if you think about it, that's not even 2 rounds of combat where you have a chance to like defend yourself and do stuff. No, this is just 2 rounds of sinking. So we're like, oh crap. So we get the rope out. Luckily, our dwarf he was in the back of the group, didn't step in. With great effort, he manages to pull us out. We drag ourselves out of this mud. We're caked in this thick mud. And right away, this is how fast campaigns go off the rails. We're like, we know the lay of the land pretty good in this area. We do have like a visibility on the portion of the world map of the North Holds, which, by the way, thank you everybody who picked up a copy of the world map on the Runehammer store. Like in those first 2 days, like a lot of those sold. That's really great. It's a really fun table prop. So anyways, we're like, let's derail this campaign. I'm not walking through any more of this marsh. This is insane. Plus, all the frogs here are going to be hunting us down. Let's just go north. Let's take the long way to Gardenborough and go through the mountains. And this was a crazy moment. Exactly like when the Fellowship hit the snow. Remember that? They're like walking through the snow and they're like, nah, we're going to die trying to walk through the snow. Let's go through Moria. And Gandalf's like, dude, I would not fuck with Moria if I were you. And let Frodo decide. And Frodo's like, oh yeah, Moria's fine. We did the exact same thing. So we went north toward the Copper Peaks. So we're more comfortable with rocks and mountains. So we're going to go up through the Rocky Mountains and we're going to bend our way east and get a ferry or a boat ride of some kind across the Cairn Strait, I believe it's called, and make our way over to Gardenborough. So that's our ultimate travel plan. It's going to take us at least 2 weeks or more. But we're like, that's the way to go. This marsh stuff is insane. And anybody out there who's ever played a role-playing game for any amount of time knows exactly this is the kind of stuff that happens. So at that moment, our GM's looking a little frazzled. And by the way, this little experience I just described to you was kind of drawn out. It kind of took a while for that little amount of story to occur. And honestly, was a bit belabored for the amount of detail that we experienced. And I think our GM kept throwing us worms on a hook that they wanted us to grab, and we just weren't biting. The fishing was bad for our GM there for, a solid like 2 hours. And, energy can flag a little bit in that situation. And when the players and the GM, their energy is flagging a little, that's probably the worst thing that can happen to role playing is when energy isn't high. Now, of course, there's always Red Bull and stuff like that. But so what we decide is the GM looks a little frazzled that we've already derailed things. So we take a 10-minute break, grab a piece of pizza, kind of chit chat about the goings on of life a little bit in the backyard while GM is preparing. We come back, and just before we took that break, there was a funny discussion of like, I mean, I can just put it right to you. I basically was like, it's just interesting to see such a different GM style. And I think, I don't know if I was like, accidentally just plying an agenda and making conversation, or if I was honestly just being sort of that conversational. But I sort of, and you guys know, I kind of have a bit of a forceful personality. And I kind of said, it's kind of interesting to see a GM with such a different style. I mean, this GM has played in my games. I was like, for me, it's just relentless. The danger and the time pressure and the water slide of events is just totally relentless. And we've had a pretty relaxing time so far. Okay, we're going to go take a 10-minute break. I think everyone watching right now can guess what's going to happen next. So we return from our break. And, oh, by the way, if you're wondering why this is red, it's because I've been working on the Morit and I have to do a thumbprint to sign some of the pages in the Morit, but that's a completely different topic. So we return from our break and something is afoot. There's a strange feeling in the air. So we pretty much are thinking there's going to be like a closing statement here and we're done for the night. Like it kind of, like the energy of things kind of flagged a little bit. It feels like a break in the story to head north. And we were kind of thinking, okay, we're going to sit down and we'll kind of wrap it up and get an intro to the Copper Peaks and that'll be it for tonight. But no. So we walk up to the Copper Peaks. It is, first of all, where we approach it is skirted by an escarpment, right? Sort of a vertical wall between 20 and 40 feet high that would make a very convenient barrier for someone that wanted to keep people out of an area, right? But it doesn't really occur to us. So we're kind of going up and we're like, oh, wow, these peaks, these cliffs and like, these promontories of stone are quite steep, it's almost looks like a sort of a curtained wall, like this would serve as a functional wall. And then we're like, what are those? Like, what are those up on top of there? What is that? And we spot something. Like those don't look like rocks, but they kind of do look like rocks. And one of these things then moves its head and spreads these stone wings. And we have walked into a set of gargoyles that has been placed along this stone wall. How many gargoyles? Now, if this is just one gargoyle, this is probably something we could handle. We could, put in some strategy and stuff. No, so the GM gets out her D6. King James, you got it. She rolls a 6. There are a row, and this is honestly more realistic than one gargoyle would be weird, right? Architecture never has one gargoyle. There are 6 gargoyles sitting like in a row up on top of this thing. They see us. They're keen to, human motion. That's like what wakes them up. They all take wing and come flapping down. Now, as the author of Crown and Skull, I'm a player here going, oh my God, gargoyles. Like gargoyles are no freaking joke. I wrote these gargoyles in Crown and Skull. These things are brutally lethal. We are beginners, and there's 6 of them. So I see that my GM has the page open to the gargoyle monster entry, which I posted in the community tab on the YouTube channel, right? So pull that up right now, and you can read along with me. Now, in Crown and Skull, monsters use tactic die, right? So you're going to roll, and a lot of games do this. Forbidden Lands does it. Dragonbane does it. And it keeps the GM from having to make tough choices about what a monster would do, right? So you roll for their tactics. Now, the thing about gargoyles, if you look closely at that entry, they act on 2 of the combat phases. 2 of the combat phases, 2 and 4. They're twice as fast as we are. So me being the author, I have to separate a little bit my knowledge and the player. And I'm like, you guys, this is bad. This is really this is dangerous. And they can fly. They're fast. Like, holy shit. So right away, we're like, well, the only way we're going to do this is if we can kite them and spread them out so that we never get like multiples on one person and just hope that the tactics never come up 6. Now, if you're reading along, a 6 on a tactic is a petrification ray. Yeah, petrification in 2 phases. There are 2 chances per gargoyle. There are 12 chances per round that we're going to be petrified. Also, you guys, we're so new as our characters. None of our characters has evade, resist, or magic as a way to save against this petrification. We're flat-footed if we get hit with this petrification ray. Remember, in Crown and Skull, if you don't have the ability to do a thing, especially a thing that's outside the norm, you can't even try because there aren't stats. You're just flat-footed against it. So without any savable skill here, when that petrification ray pops and it's coming your way, you don't even know what you're looking at. You're just like, what is that? Right? So we start to go for this kiting maneuver. Our rogue runs out, kites some of these things away, but then me and our dwarf, my character's an elf, we're basically caught flat-footed. We're just in the wrong position at the wrong time. There's just no amount of strategy could have resolved this, the way they came down at the rock. So 2 of them are pulled off, but we have 4 gargoyles just descend on us right away. I'm petrified. My dwarf, the petrification didn't come his way, so he takes a bunch of attrition right away, like all his sort of peripheral items, and we only have like 5 items each. All his peripheral items are busted in the opening engagement. I'm petrified for 4 freaking rounds. I mean, we went from 0 to hero. Now, right at this moment, this is what I would call when the magic happens. And this is a bit of a call out to my GM, right? And so we're in this sort of literal and figurative swamp of play for the first 2.5 hours of this session, even 3 hours almost, of kind of feeling like, where is this headed? What are we supposed to do? I kind of don't want to engage with this. We feel like we're making too many rolls to do simple things, or I don't know what I'm rolling, or like we don't really want to engage with this or stuff like that. No harm, no foul. This happens in all role playing, right? But we weren't really role playing. And I even sensed that our GM wasn't role playing. Sometimes a GM feels that maybe like it's not hitting, that it isn't awesome. And they'll almost like rush through things or almost belittle themselves. They'll almost make fun of their own content a little bit, like to make light of the moment. And this is just natural behavior, but it is real. This stuff happens. But the minute this battle is engaged, I swear, everyone's leaning forward. We're talking in character. We're crying out. There's intensity, there's energy. And I'm not just saying that combat is the only fun thing, but I do believe that when danger is really palpable, and as someone mentioned, as Beardy Ben mentioned, unbalanced danger is so feelable and so intense and so quickly ramps things from 0 to maximum. I feel, and I'm curious how y'all feel when we get to sort of the later section of the stream here, like, I feel this is when the magic happens, when role play really hits the table. Every dice roll not only has a clear desired output, but a lot of suspense on it. And I had no idea how much suspense was going to be involved. Okay, so this battle starts to unfold. We get past this first moment barely, and the kite starts to take because our dwarf, being brilliant instead of violent, feigns death. Now, one of the items that he has, a weird item we never thought would come into play, was a theatrical item he found in this hut, which is it's a red gut popper. So in medieval theater, a lot of you have probably seen it. It's these squiggly red cloth bits that pop out of a little sort of the popper bag when you pull a cord, and it looks like guts, right? And then you lay down in like a Shakespearean theater, and you look like you're bleeding out. So he does this to get the gargoyle aggro off of him to chase our rogue, which is going to lead to a more successful kite maneuver. And he rolls for a yes, no. Is this a believable tactic? He rolls it. He gets it. So we lose the aggro of the gargoyles because I'm a statue and he can't hold this many off. He stays there pretending to be dead until all the gargoyles are chasing our rogue, which, by the way, our rogue, the color is draining from Jimmy's face as he's playing this rogue. He realizes, I mean, this is all or nothing. This is like, 10 seconds on the clock, to use a football analogy, and he's like off, he's off running by himself. The team can't help him at this point. So I am petrified. I come unpetrified. Then our dwarf jumps up from his ruse of playing dead, and one of these 5 gargoyles has kind of been circling, and again, through a dice roll that was high suspense, spots us, realizes that we're sort of back in action. So we have an imperfect kite going, and we're like, where the fuck are we gonna go? Like, we're just in the mountains. We have to like outrun these things on open ground. And we realize that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna hope that they like are sort of programmed or spell enchanted to watch this area. And if we can run far enough, they'll return to their roosts and leave us alone. So that's our plan. Okay, great plan, right? Run your ass off. Sprint. But we have one of them that we caught notice. Now, meanwhile, our rogue has evaded a lot of potentially bad situations and managed to keep this kite going. So we're pretty successful there. But I come back into action. This one gargoyle that we hadn't really dealt with comes down, gets the 6 on the tactics. Now, when a GM is rolling tactics, I gotta say, and this is why I wrote Crown and Skull this way, it is vastly more exciting and high stakes than when a monster is rolling an attack roll. It's something about it, because you know if a 6 comes up, I mean, in this case, it's petrification. So the suspense on that 6 to me is almost higher than the suspense on an attack roll, because an attack can still come up a little bit anemic, right? Anyway, the 6 is rolled. I'm the target. I'm petrified again. And then our GM has this ghost. She looks like she saw a ghost. She looks terrified. She says, you guys, okay, stop right there. I'm reading the text for this monster right now. Now, everybody, get on that screenshot I posted and read Tactic 6 for the gargoyle. It says on Tactic 6 that if you are petrified twice by the petrification spell, it's permanent. This is my character. This is Karazhan. I freaking love this character. I know it's only been 3 sessions, but I love this character. Then a fascinating question arises, because our GM's going, guys, and then a question comes up, well, let's look at this wording. Does this mean petrified twice so that the gargoyle would petrify you, then come down and come close and cast it again to permanently petrify you? Or does it mean just twice in the encounter? So we begin this debate, and I had to stop the debate. I'm like, you guys, I feel like we're doing this debate just so we can save my character. And then that's not okay. We need, we all agreed we're going to play monsters out of the book for the excitement and the challenge of it, right? No improvising, no nerfing. And I don't think that the wording is quite specific on if it's twice, like stacked, twice in an encounter, or twice in your entire lifetime. It's just not specific enough. So let's not argue about words that aren't there. We must do what we always do in such times. You know what I'm going to say. We must trust the dice. So I said, you guys, no more arguing. The community tab of my YouTube channel has this screenshot. Okay. So we always, on questions we can't get the answer to, at our table, we always do the same thing. We roll a 1d6. If it's a 1, 2, 3, the answer is no. If it's a 4, 5, 6, the answer is yes. So I pose the question, does this rule describe being petrified twice on top? So I'm already petrified, and then the gargoyle comes in and casts it again to permanently petrify me. Is that the case that this rule is describing? So if the answer is no here, I'm just petrified a second time. If the answer is yes, I am done. I am a permanent statue. Only like insanely powerful magic is ever going to bring me back, which we don't have access to. My character is gone. My fellow characters don't even have the means to move like a 400-pound statue anyways. They have to flee. This is unnegotiably the end of my character if the answer is yes on this D6. So I said, enough talk, you guys. Just roll it. I trust the dice. GM drops this dice, and by the mercy of the role-playing gods, it comes up no. The rule is not that if it's just twice in the encounter or in your lifetime. The rule is that it must be one on top of the other. That gargoyles in our world, and your table can make its own call, but in our world, gargoyles will use a second petrification spell on top of a temporarily petrified target to perma-petrify it, which to me, that sounds cool. I mean, that sounds like something a gargoyle would do. But the dice decided, and if the dice said I'm permanently petrified, I would have to accept it, but I escape it. My entire character's existence rested on one dice roll, and it was super fun and exciting. Now all we have to do is wait for me to depetrify and run. So my dwarf starts moving the statue. He is attacked. No sixes come up. Again, if a 6 comes up, he has no way to avoid it. Now we have 2 people petrified. Like, we are a razor's edge every single time, which is twice per round. Every single one of these takes an action. We did get a couple of sword hits on one of these things, by the way. They each have 20 HP. And the time we were dumb enough to try to kill one of them, I think we got a combined total of 10 against it. So they would be killable in smaller numbers. But anyway, now it's time for a flight. So Whisper, our rogue, is still just running down these cliffs, frantically searching, and finds, I think by the mercy of our GM mostly, the entrance to a small tunnel. Now, this could have been our GM feeling terrible that the danger had ratcheted so insanely high, and wanted to add an exit to the encounter, and I can understand that. Yeah, rock on. Have fun with Runehammer, my man. But I also can see it making sense that these gargoyles would be guarding some form of sanctum, and that a small drain or sort of, like rat burrow would access whatever's behind this big stone escarpment. That makes good sense to me. I can see it. This is a very small tunnel. Our rogue leads us in there. Get in here, get in here. We have one moment where the kite and the tunnel entrance and our timing, it didn't quite work out, and we have one more chance, 3 more gargoyles. These tactic dice come down with, there could not be more suspense on a dice roll. So these 3d6 are tumbling, and if one of them's a 6, we've got massive problems again, opening up ourselves to many more attacks. Luckily, they're all 2s, 3s, 4s. So we have evaded it. Now, this whole thing maybe happened in the span of 30 to 40 minutes. So probably about half an hour, I would say. Maybe it must have been 10 rounds or so of combat in about 30 minutes. And so we basically panic slide, jumping into this tiny little burrow to escape these things. They're a little bit too big to come in with their wings, and they slowly sort of begin returning to stone, and 2 guard the entrance to the thing we're in. There's no leaving for us, and the rest go back up to their perches. We did not kill a single gargoyle. So now here we have the stopping point for our session. Now, the reason that I wanted to talk about when the magic happens here on the stream is I think that a lot of GMs spend a lot of time avoiding this situation. That they want this narrative flow, they want player victory, they want so-called balance. And honestly, maybe they don't even want those things. Maybe on paper, they love the so-called lethal game. They like low hit point, low fantasy, high danger stuff, right? On paper. But let's face it, a ton of our psychological and social conditioning sets us up to not want to harm our friends, even as GM. And I think just like we were talking about a little bit on the Runehammer Discord today, but I really think nerfing is a constant behavior of all GMs, me included. And I would argue one of the things that truly rob players of what I would like to call when the magic happens. And this is when the world is so much more than you. And you get this feeling that is the closest thing, I think, to being in your character's head or being in their shoes, which is fear. I think it's really hard to be inside your character to feel love or to feel hunger or tiredness or even companionship sometimes, but fear is so palpable, and you're not afraid as a human, as a player, you're afraid as a character, and that's the magic. That's when you really begin thinking and acting like your character out of character fear, because you as the player also feel fear for losing your character, right? And so I know that this stuff may seem obvious, but the reason that I'm talking about it in such detail is because it just fucking happened to me Wednesday night. Now, you guys know I'm a GM a lot of the time, but I'm also a player a lot of the time. And this is why. Like, the balance of seeing this stuff from both sides, I think, is the hobby. It really is. The so-called forever GM is an impoverished sort of hobbyist, I think. You really need to see and feel both sides, because you know what it does? It lets the GM be kind to themselves without nerfing. You don't have to feel mean and cruel to let the world be what it is, because the players are reveling and having a great time at this level of intensity, even though, frankly, doing this to your friends, in quotes, feels kind of intense, kind of crazy and scary. And so I think, Horga, you have a really, really good point here. It's surprisingly easy to make your players feel bored. And, I love, that's a really honest and courageous thing to say. And I really agree. For GMs at all levels of skill and experience, what seems like rich story and living world and, characters with their own motivations and all this stuff, it can seem, so generous for the GM and so giving and everything. And the players are kind of just like, I don't know. I'm not really interested in this person. I think we just want to, we just want to sort of move on. And the GM seems sort of flummoxed. Like, why didn't you want to engage with that, But I'll tell you, when this kind of danger comes down the line and it is freakishly intense and freakishly fast, and there's no way we're going to get out of here. We lost 2/3 of our stuff. And this really is the first true engagement of our entire campaign. And we have no way to get to a safe place right now. We are far afield. We have no way to recover items or any. I got hit in the face by one of the Gargoyles' claw attacks and had to give up my oratory skill. So my character's like, I can't do compelling speeches and giant fat lip like this, which is how the crown and skull attrition system works. So, man, we got popped. We got popped in the chones, you know what I'm saying? Right to the jewels, bro. So it seems like, right? But in fact, I think it really is when the magic happens. Not when you get popped in the chones, but when you realize that the world is big and that it's consistent and it's there. Okay, now a quick note. I know a lot of people out there watching and beyond don't really use monsters that are written in books. And I'm all for it. DIY for life. You know what I'm saying? That said, I still think it's absolutely critical that your DIY, if that's what you're doing, is written down. In moments like this, when stuff is this intense, having the monster's information written down is the key to the excitement. I know a lot of GMs out there just say, well, this combat's over when I feel like it'd be cool for it to be over. I don't really need to know the hit points on this monster. I don't really need to know the tactics and stats and abilities on this monster because I can kind of wing it on the fly and stuff like that. That may work in the average kind of humdrum encounter. But when things are this level intensity, as a player, I can say with absolute certainty, I want to know that it's written there. I want to go up against something that's got an artifact on the table. And I want to use every little detail of the words on that little index card or that little note in your journal. I want to work that. I want to know it's there. I don't want to go up against your sense of when I've had enough danger and you decide you're going to put up a safety line for me. I'm going to have to say, fuck that, man. No way. And I know a lot of GMs out there do this stuff. I know it. I absolutely know it. My man, Ryan, I'm looking right at you, bro. I'm looking right at you. Now, that isn't to say there isn't fun to be had that way. But when the challenge is this acute, that's when I think that I'm kind of making up the vibe as we go does not hold water. So that's kind of where I wanted to say when the magic happens. And here's the great ending to this story is that our GM, who I felt she was really getting quite nervous. You get a little jittery because the session, I mean, we've all had these moments where it just doesn't feel like it's hitting, right? And you're, as the GM, you're almost suggesting to the players that it's not hitting, and you're kind of rushing through things, and you're almost making fun of your own content. You know, there's a little bit of nerves involved in all that. But there was a glow at the end of this gargoyle battle, a glow in her face. And that is when the magic happens. It's when a GM can see that kind of flew out of control, but we trusted the dice. Every roll had a clear desired outcome and a clear like roll value, and really mattered, like understanding movement and how this game treats combat in detail not only mattered but was utilized and was fun, and like whoa, and lean backs, and you can feel that glow in the GM because everyone was psyched. Now, can you just do this like all the time and stuff? No. Anyone who's GM for a couple of years knows, you know, it's just like any other sport or any other endeavor of human effort. Sometimes you hit home runs and sometimes you strike out. That's just the nature of being a person. But to see that magic happen, to see that glow, and to feel it in my comrades and my friends, that's what this weird ass hobby that I spend so much of my waking hours thinking about and doing is all about, is that feeling. That's the magic that happens. Not necessarily how good is this RPG? How good is this session? How good are these combat mechanics? No, it's when that feeling happens. That oh my God. Okay, I'm done. I'm done for tonight. I'm going home. That feeling. Great feeling. So that's what I wanted to recap to you guys. So we are now in the foothills of the Copper Peaks, apparently in a rat access tunnel to some kind of sanctum of a force or power that is at least powerful enough to employ gargoyles to guard its perimeter. So I don't know about y'all, but things that are strong enough to have gargoyle servants send a chill down my spine. So that's where we're at, and that's what happened. So let's open up the table to some Q&A. I already see one I want to jump on from Tater. Now, when it comes to VTTs, I kind of agree with you. Like, the references are close, but I think VTTs, unless you're Alex Alvarez and you can like prepare VTT maps, like while everyone thinks you're GMing the current map, like on the side and in some other window on another monitor, you're actually making a map you didn't realize was going to be part of the session. And so the world is truly expansive, truly emergent. Unless you're doing that, I think they can be prohibitive. You feel as if you're supposed to play in what you're seeing, and that can be a little bit confining. But yo, VTTs are here to stay. They're a big part of playing with friends that may not live near you and stuff. So yeah, having those references on hand is definitely cool. Okay, so let's open it up. Open it up to some Q&A. Remember, put the word question in all caps before your comment so I can see it in the maelstrom of madness. Thanks all 80 or so of you for tuning in today. I appreciate your presence, and I hope you had a great week and you're looking forward to a glorious weekend. Summer is almost over, so get out there and live. So here we go. Slygram, how do you feel about a metric from which to improvise enemies? Yeah, I recognize this term from our discussion earlier. Hey, I'm all for it. Lord knows I like, in ICRPG, I like having a sort of metric or sort of numeric standard by which things can be improvised. Absolutely. And don't get me wrong on my firmness of opinion here, but I do think that when intensity gets hot and death is near, you're going to need more than a metric. I need words. I need numbers and words that we can actually look at as a group, GM included. I mean, I don't know about y'all. We get to scrutinize the wording of a monster entry together as a group to look at if something's survivable. And this is a character's life we're talking about. It's worth a little bit of a look. Now, also, this is Crown and Skull, man. This isn't 5e where there's probably no chance I'm going to die and they're going to drag me out of there and I'll recover because I got all these death saves and stuff. Like, death was right there, you know? So I think in that situation, improvising, even with a really good sense of you know, metrics and numeric kind of sensibilities, it's just not enough. Even if you need to stop the combat before it occurs and get the stuff on an index card so it's there when things get hairy, even that's good enough. There are not going to be any print on demand things, Tater. If you're asking about Crown and Skull, the pre-sale begins, it looks like next week. As soon as I get the proofs from Regent, the pre-sale will be unleashed. And right now we have, I believe, over 2,000 people ready to go on our mailing list. So it's mind blowing. Remember, we're not using any third party services here to run this book release. No Kickstarter here, my friends. We are pulling up our own boots. So if everyone, all of you awesome people who signed up are coming through to grab a book, we are going to hit a massive home run on this, and it is humbling and super exciting. I can't wait. And all book sales come with a digital bundle too, and you can buy the digital bundle when the pre-sale launches by itself. So you'll be able to get the whole Crown and Skull book in digital form right when the pre-sale begins. And then you guys can really scrutinize the book, because right now just a fifth of it, less than a fifth of it, is released in the free preview. So anyway, I kind of went off there. Thanks for the question, Tater. Akiba. Plans for villain point system. Recurring villains. I can't deal with all that. A villain is a villain. They get reinvented and written down before a session that they may appear, but I don't want to use point systems and level them up. I can't deal with all that. That's crazy. I mean, good on you if you can do that, but honestly, I think behind the scenes detail like that is more than a player can fully perceive. But if that's fun for you to do, then I rock on. Warmaker book. You mean the new one? That's officially not announced yet. But fear not. The new Warmaker Stealth Edition will be coming up on DriveThruRPG as soon as I get, again, the proofs in the mail. Like, I'm always waiting on proofs in the mail. That's my life. Or 12 books. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if all 2,000 of you who signed up on the email list come and buy 12 books, then I'm going to probably pass out, to be honest. What is the longest my hair? Now, this is a question. Actually, a Red Octopus, in about 2007, I used to have straight up Viking braids all the way down to here. My hair was easily this long. I had big, long braids. It's crazy. And then a bunch of really difficult shit happened to me in life. And one day I drank some whiskey and sat down in the kitchen and shaved my head with a knife like a normal person. So now you know. There you go. A little piece of Runehammer history there. Black Pedal, what's up? Where did the name Crown and Skull come from? Well, if you read the free player's guide, the name Crown and Skull is not idle. The Crown and Skull really are the sort of the alignments of the world in this game. So at a certain point of deeds and renown, when 25 hero points are earned in play, someone in the world will approach you hearing about your deeds and ask you to choose either the crown, which is kind of like the lawful side, or the skull, which is kind of more the rogue type side. Not necessarily evil, but, self-reliance and sort of chaotic sort of mindset. The crown and the skull really are not just abstract things in a title. They truly are what defines the world in the game. And especially when and there are skills and loot that only the crown characters can have, and skull characters, so on and so forth. So the game kind of bifurcates as you level up. And when volume 2 comes out next summer, that's when I think everyone will truly see how transcendent the concepts of the crown and the skull can be. And I cannot say more about that. Let's have fun with volume 1 for a while before volume 2 starts to get talked about. But I mean, as many of you guys know, I work on my stuff for quite a long time before it releases. So I'm already working on volume 2. I have been for a little while. And it's going to be awesome. But volume 1 is going to get to everybody. It's going to be amazing. I just can't wait for it. There are photos of the braid days. That was a really, really long time ago. And my MySpace account that I had, I can't find it anymore. It seems to be gone. So a lot of those photos have been lost to time. I'm not seeing Mastodon at all. I was just joking around for my opening. And let me tell you about volume 3 of Crown and Skull. Well, if it doesn't bother you guys, I think I'll have another sip of this. Oh, I'll have another sip of the Allfather here. By the way, just go buy it. You can order it in the mail. Apparently, we live in a world where you can just order mead in the mail and it comes in the mail. Now, of course, I mean, it's awesome, but I gotta say, this may be my favorite. Let's just finish it. Why not? You know, why not just finish? We haven't had a little sip of something together in quite some time. And frankly, your old buddy Hanker and I've been sober as Judge Judy these past many weeks because I've been training like a beast, and drinking alcohol and training hard do not go together. So this is a real treat. It is a mead. It's a fig mead. So you got honey and figs. One of the, according to them, one of the oldest mead recipes that is known, with wildflowers, figs, and mead. So you really do get an old kind of, at least what I would imagine it to taste like an old. It's freaking fantastic. I gotta say, this shit is delicious. Hidden legend, you have been dethroned, my friend. Hey, Red Octopus, thanks, man. Hey, I appreciate that. Right side of the brain. That means a lot. That makes my day. Thank you. That's why I do what I do. Is all the little stories that everybody hits me up with that are like that. That is a reason to be. Any future art streams? You know, sometimes I realize that I'm kind of a little bit sloppy when I do art live because the sort of the pressure. So I am taking a little bit of time to do some of the Morat on my own. I'm also going to be using the Morat at Burning Con in September, and so I wanted to get a good bit of it done just on my own. But I'm always up for doing for art streams. So you know, it's just the vibe has to strike me. As I've said so many times on YouTube, I'm not really one of these like, you know, lifer YouTubers. I don't really think in terms of like, you know, just YouTubing a lot. And full respect to people who do like produced videos on the regular and stuff. It's a lot of work. And also just a lifestyle and a mindset. And my mindset is really all about writing and doing art and really thinking forward in RPG design and stuff like that. And that's my daily life. That's why I'm always reading systems and always researching and writing and tapping on my laptop and drawing in my journal and stuff is that creation side, not necessarily the broadcasting side. So I like to do it to stay in touch with y'all, Lord knows, but I don't really like wake up every day being like, I got to get on YouTube and draw. So it's kind of just when it strikes me, if that makes sense. Yeah, I don't like any of Dogfish Head's beer, Tater. So I don't know what they're doing, but something's really, really wrong with that stuff. Neck and Weights. Question. Do you have to go to Frog Folk Minis? People have a couple ready for a go-to. Absolutely. Yes, there are actually a lot of really good ones. The ones that I painted, and it's in a stream. So if you look back in my catalog a little bit, I found some really great ones. They're called the Croak Warriors, I think. Oh, they're fantastic. They're absolutely perfect. In the more modern sense, there's a lot of 3D printed miniatures you can get with some frog sensibilities, samurai frogs and stuff. Etsy's a great place for that. Reaper Minis is a great place to look for this stuff. But there are a lot of great frogs out there, but I can't give you a go-to source. Frog Warriors and Frog Samurai and stuff like that, Frog Ninja, spear frogs, frogs with rice paddy hats and stuff. They're definitely out there, but they're kind of all over the place. So I invite you to have fun with that search like I have. Slagram's back again. What's your favorite new system you've read? Well, I'm definitely intrigued by Daggerheart, like everybody. Hey, Dan, what's up, my man? PDM's in the house. Oh, thanks for the tip, dude. That pays for half a bottle of All Father. Not bad. Appreciate it. To you. I don't think, like, as far as new systems, there's a lot on my plate at the moment. I am neck deep, though, in trying to get a truly holistic understanding of Torchbearer. So, oh my goodness, their second edition is so great. They finally got away from those big 8x10 books to these nice little compact books. You know, Thor and Luke make the really, really great books, but they are challenging to fully understand in a holistic way. You can feel like you understand, but then you're kind of like, do I actually understand this? And it can take a bit of doing to fully understand it. I'm hoping to run a Torchbearer game at Burning Con in September. So I really want to get a holistic understanding of it. So that's kind of where my head is as far as systems outside of Crown and Skull right now. Grouch Couch dropping dap on ICRPG. Thanks, man. Other than RPGs, what gets you excited nowadays? Well, lifting. Um, I lift heavy and work hard. I kind of sprained a few tendons in one of my hands, lifting a little too heavy. So I had to switch to doing the Rocky steps. Oh my gosh. You want to talk about a workout that will destroy your mind and body? Like, go do the Rocky steps for one continuous hour. For those of you who live in the Philly area, you will be annihilated, both spiritually and physically. So, anyway, training is a constant part of my life. Um, really, almost the focal point, besides, like my family and stuff. Like, I'm a huge believer in it, and as many of you know, as an amputee, like training hard is not only something that I love doing, but life threw me such a curveball where I really know what it feels like to be truly weak and to be truly broken. I couldn't walk for almost a year, and so to come back from that and be on the attack and be like as strong and as fit as absolutely possible is a passion of mine because of that. So that's one big thing. I love getting out in nature. I love shooting the longbow out in the forest for sure. A good campfire. Um, cruising around, shopping for records, eating steaks. Like, I don't know, shopping for tank tops. I don't know. What do? I have no idea. I get outside a lot. Let me put it that way. I get outside a lot, and usually while I'm outside doing things, I'm thinking about whatever I'm working on. So, yeah. S5. I know you've been like deep in Blades. You can read Blades in one day, think you understand it. You don't. It takes weeks to get a holistic, game master level understanding of something. And it's fun. It's a blast. I honestly think that everybody just thinking like, oh, D&D 5th edition is the game we play. Brr, years are passing. I think it actually can impair your ability to learn things. Like, you kind of, the muscles of learning systems that are maybe unusual or difficult, they actually atrophy. So I really love the challenge of getting holistic learning of something. And you really want to work these muscles, try Burning Wheel. Like, try to get a holistic way in your mind of running Burning Wheel. It can be really challenging, but that's kind of the message of its design. So anyway, that's a little bit of a side thing. Go to breakfast food. Usually 6 eggs. I like 6 eggs, and then a little while after that, like, have some, like whole wheat cereal. Yeah, and then maybe have a steak. If it's a big day, and then I'll usually hit the Iron Church like in the noon crowd. I'm like in the noon group. No, I did not get the record for Morkborg. I really don't have a lot of super positive stuff to say about all that. Today I picked up Big Business. Good record. We picked up the soundtrack to Sable last week too. Great little video game, but the soundtrack's really cool by Japanese Breakfast. Really cool stuff. Anyway, World of Darkness. Oh yeah, back in the day. Cool, a bit obsequious. Like, it felt like it kind of was lording over me or something. I don't know. It felt not my jam. Totally, happy for everybody playing World of Darkness, but just kind of not for me. You planning on doing another journal expose? Yeah, sure. I'm working my way through it. It's downstairs right now. I'm probably almost halfway through the one that I have right now. So whenever I finish a journal, I'll put it on YouTube. Oh yeah, always 6 eggs for breakfast. No bacon. No bacon. No. Whole wheat and eggs. But hey, to each their own. Yeah, great. So what is the 6? I don't even know when I came onto this dang old internet. I have no idea what's going on. But and I have a bit of free time this evening, I might say. I'm caught up on all my work issues. The Rune wife is doing her thing, and I'm just gonna, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna kick back, I guess. How do you even do that? You just kick back? Like, what do you do? I mean, I'll tell you what I wind up doing. I'll sit on the patio and read Torchbearer. That's just like my way. No bacon. No bacon. You don't need no bacon. Now, don't mistake my words. Bacon is fucking wonderful. But when you're going savage, I might rewatch the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka. Really liked it. I love the guy from King Arthur. He's so cool. Really happy to see him be in something again. He hasn't been in anything for quite a while. He's such a badass, and as a Sith, so cool. So I might just watch Ahsoka again to just like take it in. I really love like the ruins and just the vibe they're doing. It just feels so relaxed. Like they're in this kind of like Star Wars forever kind of mindset, and it's just so relaxing and chill. Well, raising your own bacon, now that's a different level. That's a different level, bruh. Tater, what's up? What's your pre-workout drink? Wow, this is getting specific. I don't know. I go to GNC and I just get friggin' nitro. You know what I mean? By the way, especially if you're over 40 and you are an Iron Churcher, use pre-workout, use nitro. Like, you need it. If you guys, I don't even care revealing it, but if you guys want to know, this October, I'm going to hit the half-century mark. I'm going to be the big 5-0 in October. Can you believe that shit? This sturdy frame has endured 5 decades of combat. It's crazy to think about. So if all goes to plan, I'll finally get my back piece done. That's maybe my birthday present to myself. What's up, Armored Cow? Will there be an art book and a theme for Crown and Skill? There's very little art in Crown and Skill, almost none. So brace yourself for that. I am of a new mindset with the Crown and Skull books. They will have about 16 illustrations in them, in a block in the center of the book, and the rest of the book will have no art in it. This is a stance I'm taking to differentiate myself in the role-playing sort of industry, in the hobby at large, but also as a person who reads a lot of freaking books. I have grown road weary of so many role-playing books having all this art breaking everything up and filling up pages and showing me things. I don't need it. I want a book, like a book I can read. I can figure out the art. The internet is so rampant with art for me to farm based on my imagination of things. Like if I'm reading Dune, do I want a full color illustration every other page breaking up the text in Dune? No. Now you might, and that's totally cool. But I'm just talking about my aesthetics. I like a book that's a book. Take a look. It rhymes. Anyway, wow, that was kind of a unexpected. You hit a tingly nerve on that one, I guess. But yeah, so if you're looking forward to your Crown and Skull book, this is a little bit of a reveal. I mean, it has, I think, about 16 illustrations in a section in the middle of the book titled Illustrations, and they're each full page, and there's no text except a tiny caption that also credits the artist. And that's it. The rest of the book is just text, like a book. Boom. Now, there's, of course, art is amazing in RPGs. Don't get me wrong. Don't take it too far. Art is fantastic. Lord knows I spend a ton of my time doing art. But this is just a stance that I'm taking on the style of these particular books. And I want them to stand on their own in a certain way. And it's working. And you'll see a lot of the aesthetics I've chosen for this book are maybe different than what you're seeing elsewhere. And I hope it comes across that way. No, they aren't drawings at the top of each. Anyway, moving on. I hope it's one of the first book type RPGs, yes, because as far as I know, even from their very beginning, besides the typewriter made documents, there's always been illustrations breaking up text in RPGs. It's just like a thing. And I don't know if I'm completely crazy and this is just going to be a total failure, but my instinct says, let's just stop doing that. Let's just trust the player and the GM to imagine and read like you do with so many other books. Any clue when CNS will kickstart? Why would I kickstart it? I'm not using Kickstarter. I know it's insane. I see some crazy stuff. Like people are kickstarting like 10-page PDFs. Maybe I don't understand what's going on, but that's a different subject. I don't think I even want to get into it. Kickstarter to me is almost like politics. I just don't want to talk about it. Question: isn't Burning Wheel art free? Oh no, it's got tons of art. It has some really nice dense text sections, but yeah, there's a little art peppered throughout, just like a lot of books. Some of the art in Crown and Skull is mine. Just a couple pieces. I only did a few, just for fun. And then, as you'll see, I don't know if I put the ad up yet, but you know what? For fun, I'm going to go ahead and make the Crown and Skull ads that I made. I'm going to make them public on YouTube. I'll do it tonight after the stream. And these ads are going to be appearing in other videos throughout YouTube in the coming weeks because we're going to run some little ad campaigns. I don't really believe in the power of ads that much. I believe in the power of just like authenticity and knowing people one-on-one. But I did make 4 little sort of 30-second ads for Crown and Skull that are kind of fun. But our artists, oh my God, we got Sean Bova, the master. We got Luke Eidenschink, the lord of like this sort of engraving style. We've got Stephen Nickel, who's like a massive Twitch illustrator with this kind of wild kind of, I don't even know how to describe it, almost like a Battle of the Planets kind of style. Then we got Robert Rudnicki doing our city scenes. We got a couple pieces by me. And there's one other person, and I feel absolutely horrible forgetting who it is. But anyway. Yeah, Carlat, it's just gonna release. Imagine that. And it's gonna be awesome. Is this a smart business tactic? I have no idea, but something in my stomach says just walk hard down the path on your own with your homies. And don't, yeah. Anyway, again, I don't want to like hurt anybody's feelings or like make any kind of extreme statements on that whole thing. So I just kind of don't talk about it. This is just my particular path. It is not an editorial thing against anybody or anything. Lord knows I love a good Kickstarter. You know, the Kickstarter that I just hit that I loved is the RPG Book of Saints by Wayne Reynolds. And this to me, Wayne Reynolds is one of the hugest legends in our hobby ever to live, ever to walk the face of the hobby. I would compare him to an Errol Otis or a Larry Elmore in his impact on role playing. And he's got this sort of relatively small little Kickstarter for his book. And it goes to show that it's mind blowing. That's all I can say, but I can't wait for that thing to come in the mail. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, Battle of the Planets is dope. Who? Jorga says. Wayne Reynolds is a god, especially when you realize how he makes the art that he has made all these years. A god walking among insects. I swear, it is unfreaking believable to realize how far the right brain can go when it is given time to hone its craft, and you have some innate ability combined with insane discipline and training. Oh my God. Oh my God. The volume, the quality, the way it changed how we look at the fantasy world itself. Oh, anyway, don't get me started on Wayne Reynolds. I'll blow your head up. If you want to consume Wayne Reynolds in large quantities and just glut yourself on it in a buffet of complete insanity, the book you want is called Visions of War. You can get it on Amazon, and you should, because it's damned amazing. I think on that note, oh, that's who I forgot, Fernando. I forgot Fernando Salvaterra. Fernando Salvaterra is a brilliant cartographer who did a sort of an outlier piece almost for Crown and Skull. Like it's very different from anything else. It is a sort of a 3D sort of map rendering of Runehammer, which is one of the mega dungeons in the book. Absolutely nutty artist with a really unique aesthetic. And so I commissioned him just to do that one. Is there any way to buy my novels direct? Not yet. So As many of you know, Crown and Skull is my opening foray into relying on, no one to do this business. So that means paying for printing and warehousing my own books and fulfilling them on my own. No backer kit, no Kickstarter, none of this stuff, just like making a business as a publisher. Crown and Skull is the opening cannonball. So assuming that's going to go as well as it looks like it's going to go, I will then begin to expand into publishing my fiction work and some of my other sort of successful work on my own label with my own warehouse and stuff. And that's where I want to take the business. I also have, and I'm ever grateful for this, DM Scotty's incredible Easy D6 books on my label. And so we're doing those on drive-through right now. But when we get far enough into the progress and success of Easy D6, we're going to do the same thing we're doing with Crown. We're going to make it ourselves. We're going to make it freaking awesome. And we're going to bring it all together into sort of a, like a really substantial piece. So you're going to see me doing this if you stick with me in the coming years. This really has been my dream all along since high school. I was the youngest newspaper editor-in-chief of our high school that our high school had ever had. Basically, in the beginning of my junior year, I was editor-in-chief of the newspaper. And it was the same skills, it's gathering the information, it's writing, it's overseeing writing, it's editing writing, improving writing, then it's building layouts, and then it's getting it all done fast and getting it out, and then moving on to the next thing and leaving your errors behind and learning and doing it again. And ever since then, I've wanted to be a publisher. But life is long. There's a crazy journey in between. But, here we go. So I'm going to turn 50, and feels like right around my birthday, crazy enough, is when my first truly published book will be releasing, without any print on demand services or anything, like truly publishing a book as a publisher. I don't know. Maybe I can say publish one more time. Yeah, Vorpal, Modifius has had a little bit of trouble keeping stock filled. Now, this is in some ways a good problem to have. Every time they do a reprint of Index Card RPG, it sells out. I think they have a limited will to make like really big print runs of Index Card RPG, which is totally understandable. But the demand on Index Card RPG has been unbelievable. It just keeps going. It's a juggernaut. And so, yeah, they have had some stock problems over the last couple of years, which is unfortunate. I haven't, sort of grabbed that yet. I haven't, taken that into my own hands quite yet, because there usually is a little bit of stock. It's just people have to look around for it. So that's right on the brink of me wanting to sort of, grab it and take it over. But I appreciate Vorpal. I appreciate the comment, because Index Card RPG has sold so insanely well. It's hard to keep it stocked, which is weird. Like, its second printing sold so fast. It was just like, what's happening? I don't know, but I think the collector's editions are mostly gone already in their second printing, which we weren't even sure there was going to be a second printing. So it's kind of crazy. It's humbling and exciting and crazy. The Church of Iron from the Great Cthulhu. By the way, thanks for your support over the years, Great Cthulhu. It's good to see that username popping up. Most simple workout rep combo for an absolute beginner. Well, if you're an absolute beginner, it doesn't matter how many reps or combos you do. Nothing matters. All that matters is to build the habit of pushing yourself safely. Just build the habit. Do whatever makes you happy and feel like a badass. It doesn't matter how good it is. Nothing matters. Just the habit of training and enjoying training, rather than being like, ugh. If you get that habit and it just becomes part of your life, then when you're steady rocking, then you can look at what's effective. What do I want to do? What's my thing? But that habit, man, that grind, that blood and thunder of just week after week, you're showing up, you see the same people and they see you, and you are a savage, and you leave that place with nothing on the floor. You just leave it all behind. When you get that habit going and you know that you're just going to do this, that's when you can start scrutinizing what you're doing. You ever planning to expand your publishing beyond your own work? Well, Scotty is beyond my own work. And I have another big announcement, but I don't know if I'm quite cleared to make that announcement yet. But I have acquired my second big property that's not me. So we'll work on that announcement. That might be coming here in the next week or so. We'll announce that. But absolutely, I am looking for people that are thunder and lightning that can come my way. And some of them can be small, like The Waste is Not Kind is going to be coming out on Runehammer. But that's sort of a nice compact little title, easier to commit to. But I did just get my second really big one, and it is colossal. But gotta wait. And Tater, don't miss discipline. Just do shit. Don't miss things. Don't lament. Attack. Life is short. Attack that shit. Yes, the habit of the gym 4 times a week, if that's healthy for your body, that's the habit you need. And where you like it, where it's the highlight of your day. That's what I mean by a habit. Other things need to get the fuck out of the way because I got to go to church, y'all. And that's why we joke around and call it the Iron Church. And I'm really fired up about this stuff. You guys even may see me in my 50s appearing in other things besides role playing, if you know what I mean. I may be branching out a little bit. You may be seeing me in other places. Many wheels are turning these days. Better advisors than Gygax. I don't know anything about, well, I guess I know what you mean, but I don't really have advisors. I cut my own path for good or ill and live by my own stakes. And you know the reason that I can do that? Patreon. The people that are on Patreon give me the support that I need to make sure that my most basic bills are paid, which is about what it covers. Like it pays my rent and like my car payment and like my cable bill. And well, no, it does a little bit better than that. And maybe one more bill, like phone, maybe car insurance, right? Like something like that. Like my fundamental bills are paid by Patreon. And that gives me the confidence to attack this sort of journey that I'm on, this entrepreneurial journey as Runehammer in the way that I want it to see it done, you know, the authentic way that fits me. Not even necessarily the best way, not even necessarily like the biggest business or the most profit or whatever. Just the thing that feels right for my soul and like my spot in this cosmos. And Patreon gives me the backup to do that. So I'm always in all my books, you'll see this book is made possible by Patreon because those are my shields, man. They protect me. Partners in Europe. You know, I appreciate Europe and thanks for that. Europe is a small market for one thing, but it also very difficult to get quality translations that I can verify on my own. Wording is absolutely critical and translations can come through weird. It's really challenging, I got to say. So until I find a partner that is truly rock steady, it's a little dicey for me, David. By the way, thanks for your awesome quote about Crown and Skull. I used it in one of the videos from Instagram. Yeah, S5, we call it road work. In boxing, it's called road work. It's just expected that you run a couple of miles a day. Otherwise, like, what are you even doing? All right, you guys. I think we're winding down. When we're starting to talk about jogging in the morning, that probably means it's about it for Friday night stream. You guys, thanks so much for tuning in. It's great to have all of y'all here hanging out. And there's been some nice growth on ye old YouTube channel. I think in 2023, I may actually cross 50,000 subscribers, which I think this has been 8 years now to reach. I know so many channels that came up after me have just blasted past me, which rock on. I've just been sort of over here on Dagobah doing my thing. So crossing 50K for me would be a huge accomplishment. That'd be really cool and well worth a celebration. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in so much. I hope you enjoyed my tale of session 3 of the Frog Brothers. And it's good to sort of see y'all on the internet. And as always, please don't be shy if you just want to hit me up on Discord. Email my ass, hankerin.fernale@gmail.com. What's up? Just I don't know. I'm just over here. I'm doing this shit every day. So it's always cool to talk to people. I will be right here. Thank you all for all the love. And I tell you what, the next time you're probably going to see me, the Crown and Skull pre-sale will be in motion. And it's so exciting. I don't mean to shill it or anything, but it's probably the biggest event of the Runehammer journey. This is probably the biggest moment in Runehammer history, will be the pre-sale of Crown and Skull. This is our, and I couldn't have done it without my man House and my man Kane. They are the other two members of the Runehammer team. For those of you who didn't know, I couldn't have done any of this shit without them. And the three of us are going to be popping them corks. And I just got a really good feeling. I think we've followed a path of truth and authenticity, and I think it's going to be really exciting to get this into people's hands and see what happens in the coming year, which I guess would be 2024, which is insane. I mean, that means we're almost like Marty McFly is going to appear the year after that from the past. Wait, that's not real. Anyway, you guys, keep it real, don't steal, and you always get a deal. Now, I know there's some crazy difficult stuff going on in the world right now. So this weekend, take a little time out your day and go tell somebody you love them. Do something nice for just one person. Just some little thing, get them a cheeseburger. You know what I'm saying? Pay for lunch. Get some flowers. Do the dishes, whatever. Just one little thing. And if everyone on this whole planet did that this weekend, it would be a better world. All right, you guys. Hanker and Fernail signing off. See you on that old internet. All right, I'm out. Peace. Blood and thunder.